This is Hoosier Ag Today. I'm Andy Eubank with the morning edition on Monday morning, September the 28th, 2015. Good morning and thanks for joining us for the latest Indiana farm news. Gary Truitt will check in with news from a delegation from the U.S. that just returned from a fact-finding mission to Cuba. Gary Truitt talks with one of our Hoosier leaders who was there. And we'll have a Northern Indiana harvest update. Both ends of the spectrum in the north part of Indiana. Great yields and, of course, some very, very poor yields. All of that is coming up along with the Indiana Farm Forecast. Hat meteorologist Ryan Martin has the update and a look back at the Friday markets with Bob Utterback analysis. That's next on the morning edition of Hoosier Ag Today.
Indiana Farm Bureau needs you. It's critical for your farm and family that your voice be heard daily. Farm Bureau membership tells legislators that Indiana agriculture stands together on property tax issues, farmland annexation, and water rules. Protect your livelihood and children's future by going online to infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU. infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU. Your membership brings value and benefits, but more importantly, it adds your voice to that of your neighbors and friends. Don't stand on the sidelines. Be heard on local, state, and national issues. We'll show you how. Indiana Farm Bureau needs you. Go to infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU.
This is Hoosier Ag Today and the latest news in Indiana agriculture. I'm Andy Eubank, and the DuPont Pioneer Agronomy reports continue during this harvest season with updates from across the state. Listen each week on this station and check out the agronomy page at HoosierAgToday.com. A delegation from the U.S. has just returned from a fact-finding mission to Cuba. As Gary Truitt reports, several Hoosier farmers were on the trip and feel there is hope for trade in U.S. farm products.
Indiana corn and soybean farmer Dave Lau was one of the participants in the Cuba mission. I caught up with him on Friday as he was shelling corn. What are the yield monitor numbers looking like for you?
Do we have to talk about that, Gary? Yeah, we're up here in the part of Indiana that didn't fare so well there in June and July. And actually, this field is better than I anticipated. And I saw over 200 on the monitor, and I saw 40 on the monitor several times as well. So it's probably going to average out in that 80 to 90 range, somewhere thereabouts, get everything all said and done.
He told me Cuba is a market that has a good deal of potential as a market for U.S. farm commodities.
They've got a poultry industry down there, which would take soybeans and soybean meal, and a lot of cattle on the hills, if you would. We saw some ponds where it appeared to be aquaculture, and that's obviously a soybean-type product opportunity.
He also said Cuba will be a big market for value-added and processed food products, but trade with Cuba will not develop until the U.S. government lifts its restrictions.
Cuba has no credit with the United States. In other words, it all has to be paid cash. Any other country that they trade with currently is not that way. They can get credit, long-term credit, to buy products, whether that be corn or soy or fuel and those kind of things.
Until those issues are resolved, Lau feels an exchange of agricultural technology is the best route to take.
They need help in producing agricultural products that they can produce. We'd like to supply them with products that they cannot. What we decided is probably it made sense that if we could get some of their key individuals to come up here and visit our farms, and then we can send those same folks back to their farms. We think it needs to be a grassroots type effort.
He told Hoosier Ag Today Purdue could play a large role in this process. I'm Gary Truitt.
Harvest is underway in Indiana as Hoosier farmers take advantage of perfect conditions to get the combines going and begin to find out just what kind of year it will really be. Agronomist Kirby Bacon covers the northern half of the state for Monsanto and says 2015 conditions all year are leading to predictably large swings in yields.
This is going to be one of those years that, again, we have to look back at the history and the life of the crop. And we had some unprecedented events that occurred in some places this year. So our results, I guess it's fair to say, are kind of all over the board. We are seeing some really, really strong performance in some areas, and likewise, we're unfortunately seeing some of this stuff on the other end of the spectrum.
Those yields on the plus side, in some cases, have been record breakers.
I've already run into some circumstances where we've had corn yields that are coming in records for those particular fields on the high end of the spectrum.
Bacon says those farmers benefited from the luxury of being in an area with a very low-stress growing season. He adds that combines are really rolling heavily so that stressed crops can be harvested before any more damage can be done.
I am definitely in the camp that says we need to get out, get after it, and capture what we have to minimize losses and maximize incomes.
Kirby Bacon with Monsanto. I'm Andy Eubank. This is Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at Hoosier Ag Today's Indiana Farm Forecast from the Wells Fargo Forecast Center. Some cloud cover built in across the state this past weekend. It's kind of an offshoot of plenty of tropical moisture and oceanic moisture that worked in over the country, coming in from the east and south and then coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. There's no real clear tropical disturbances down there, but several areas of low pressure are causing moisture to stream northward. So that's what the clouds were from. Off to our north and west, we've got a frontal boundary complex that looks like it wants to try and get close to us. It'll likely try and pass through over the course of the next 36 to 48 hours. What I think we're going to be seeing here is this just being a dividing line between one area of high pressure and another. There's not a lot of moisture associated with this. I will say that as the front drags through probably tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have to keep an eye out for a couple of lines of showers to maybe sneak into extreme southern parts of Indiana. That's about the only place I'm going to look for any real moisture. The rest of the state probably still just dealing with cloud cover. And that means we are going to be dry then right on through the end of the week and the weekend. Right now, models are still arguing as to when the next system arrives. We favored that fourth, fifth time frame. We may have to scale things back, or I should say move things back a little bit. Looks like the next front may not really start to get some ground here until we get into the 6th, which would be on into the early part of next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. I will say that once the front actually is able to come together and work in, it does have a nice little line of rain with it, which is good considering by then we will have gone at least 2 weeks and maybe more in spots between good rains. Looks like the front as it heads through the early part to middle part of next week will bring a quarter to maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain. Coverage, I'm only going to play at about 60% right now. I think that could get better because this is a front that sweeps through. But for right now, let's play it conservative to start. So we've got some moisture that's coming next week, but not much this week except in southern Indiana. What about temperatures? Well, I don't think we're going to be quite as warm as where we were to finish out last week. We're fundamentally changing air mass here just a little bit. For example, the cooler air mass that's pushing into our neck of the woods in the next day or two came into North Dakota yesterday, and it looks like they're going to be seeing temperatures dip down to near 30 degrees overnight in parts of eastern North Dakota. So it's a fundamentally different air mass. I'm not calling for any of that kind of cold air down here, but I think it limits us probably to the mid-70s for highs here as we go forward, maybe even upper 60s midweek and beyond this week. So we will see some slightly cooler air. No major problems. Should be still nice and dry, low relative humidity values, so harvest should be able to roll along trouble-free. Now, if folks are looking to try and put some wheat in the ground and really want a little bit more moisture to do that, I understand. I think, though, if you're going to wait on moisture to get going, you're going to be waiting on into the first half to middle part of next week. That's the way things are stacking up this morning. Have a great rest of your day. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin on Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.
Monitor your grain anytime, any place with GrainTrack from Co-Alliance. GrainTrack uses the latest technology for remote temperature readings every 30 minutes. Let GrainTrack remove the guesswork from grain storage so you don't need to drive, climb, or keep handwritten notes to track information. Save money on electricity and shrink by not over-drying. A typical installed system is only a few cents per bushel. For more information, check out GrainTrack at coalliance.com. GrainTrack bin monitoring only from Co-Alliance.
This is Hoosier Ag Today. I'm Andy Eubank with the Friday Farm Market Review. A lot of green ink. Commodities everywhere higher, including the ag markets on Friday. This update is brought to you by Seed Consultants, simply the best value in the seed industry. 800-708-2676, seedconsultants.com. The grain markets were strong. I checked in midday with Bob Utterback of Utterback Marketing Services for his thoughts.
Well, the market's been relatively flattish all week, and then we got a Chinese purchase confirmation with the delegation that's coming to Washington. it's I've been talking about that everybody's been expecting that the Chinese would start challenge some activity into the market as they got closer to the premier's visit. We're getting that activity, and that's about it. This is not rallying because the weather is going to impede harvest. Harvest weather is going to be good for the next 2 weeks. This is not because early yields are coming in low. The early yields are coming in above expectation. This is not because South America is having maybe just a smidgen problem getting some planting done, but that's probably more for corn than for beans. So I can't come up with a lot of real definitive reasons other than it's more technical that we're bouncing. And I would argue, I wouldn't be surprised in the latter part of the session today that we start getting pre-hedging pressure as elevators start putting on hedges for expected inventory coming over the weekend. I know these prices are disappointing to producers, but if you're going to be selling off the combine and you got inventory you're going to be delivering to the market this weekend, I don't think there's a lot of justification for arguing there's going to be significant rally in potential in the beans, and to that matter of corn, until the bin doors shut, and then it's going to be, it'll be a moderate November, December bounce, but it's not going to be aggressive. So we're in that time period where everybody's expectation has to be brought into, I think, check. But for right now, a 16-cent rally is a really refreshing reward to way in the week, and I'll take everything I can get.
Well, of course, this time of year, we're anxious to hear what harvest results are and ultimately how they might impact the markets. Overall, can you generalize about what you're hearing, Bob?
Minnesota yields are pretty much at the higher range as expected. I've been heard some decent yields in Indiana, and in the beans, I've heard 50s and 60s. I think in our head we had 25s and 30s. And so that's the problem I see right now. And the corn yields have been strong in the first yields. Now, everybody, I think, truly believes that as the later corn and later beans is harvested, that'll be more effective. Yields will start going down. And I think that behavior will start to show up, is that corn yields and bean yields will start to drop. We've harvested probably our best stuff first.
Bob Utterback is at Utterback Marketing Services, and the toll-free office number there is 800-832-1488. Now here's how the markets finished the week. The corn market up 7.5 cents on December, March, and May. December corn $3.89, March $4.25, and the May contract settled at $4.07.5 on Friday. $8.89 for November beans, up 21.25. Jan beans $8.93 up 20.75. And the wheat market over a dime higher at the close, $5.07 for December, up 10.5, and $5.15 on the March, up 10.75. That's the Friday review, and that will do it for the Monday morning edition here on Hoosier Ag Today. I'm Andy Eubank. Thanks for being with us, and we'll be back with an update on the grain markets on our midday report coming up after 11 o'clock Central and 12 noon Eastern Time. Later today, also analysis with Cody Bills scheduled to join me from Grain Hedge. And that's the midday edition later on today. Keep an eye on the markets all day long with the market section at our mobile app for Apple and Droid, and of course, HoosierAgToday.com. This is Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.